Hi, this is Dina for Splitcoaststampers. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make these paper pumpkins. They're easy to make and they're great for place settings or holiday decor. I've got some patterned paper here that is 11 inches long, and I'm going to begin by cutting 1-inch strips from my paper. You can use all one pattern, or you can do some mixing and matching like I've done here. One of these papers that I'm cutting is double-sided, so I end up with 3 different patterns for mine. With these 11-inch strips, you will end up with a finished pumpkin that's about 4 inches across. If you want a smaller pumpkin or a larger pumpkin, you would want to adjust the width of your strips and the length of your strips proportionately. So for a 2-inch pumpkin, I cut my strips 1/2 inch wide and 6 inches long. For a larger one, you could piece strips together and just adjust the width proportionately to what we have here. To begin framing the pumpkin, I'm going to take one of my strips and form it into a ring, and then overlap and glue the ends together with hot glue. At that same overlap point, I'm going to glue again and attach the end of a second strip at a right angle to the ring, and then bring the strip around and glue it at the top again, overlapping the ends as I did before. And you want this second ring to be snug around the first ring. From this point, you're just going to continue building up the shape of the pumpkin by adding more strips in the same way that I've just done until you have the fullness that you want your pumpkin to be. Test your angle so you make sure you're filling the space well. For this strip, I wanted it to come right down next to the first one rather than in the center of the space. If you want a really full pumpkin, you could go straight down the middle of that open space and overlap your strips a little bit more. Just up to you and how you want your pumpkin to end up. I ended up using only 6 of the strips that I cut here, though I cut 8. You can make yours fuller by overlapping the strips more and use all 8 of those strips, or you can make them a little more gappy. I've seen them done both ways and they're all cute. As you go, make sure you're keeping your paper rings centered with each other so you end up with a nice ball shape when you finish. And don't worry about the glue getting a little messy on the top where all the ends of the strips are stacked up. We're going to cover that up so those ends won't show. To keep our little pumpkins sitting upright and in shape, they need a base and a little topper. So I'm going to cut some scallop circles. The larger one here is about 4 inches wide, and the smaller one is 1 3/4. I'm just gluing my paper ball right to the center of that larger circle. You don't want to smash it down, but it does have a little spring to it, so you can give it a little pressure. The smaller circle will be glued to the top of the pumpkin to cover up the ends of the strips. I did go ahead and go back in and add a little more glue in between some of the layers in the bottom of the pumpkin, since I have them centered now and set where I want them. Just wanted to give a little more stability to the base there. I'm going to use my scissors to get inside there and press those layers together. These are the spools that I used to begin decorating my pumpkin. These have a 1/2 inch diameter and they're so tiny and cute. I just grabbed a small scrap of green pattern paper from my stash to cover the spools up. And here I'm just getting an approximate width for the strip I need and marking it scientifically with my thumbnail so I know where to make my cut. So to begin wrapping this spool, I just put a small dot of hot glue onto the spool and wrap the paper around. And then I'll secure the other end with a little bit of glue, and I will try to distract you from the other piece of paper that is hanging from my finger by a long string of glue. So I covered 2 of those little spools, and they will be my pumpkin stem. So those little spools are just going to stack one on top of the other at the center of my pumpkin, and I'm attaching them with hot glue. I like offsetting one just a little bit for a whimsical look, but if you want yours stacked straight, that's up to you. Also, there's an option in the photo tutorial of sponging the edges of the spools with darker brown ink. I didn't do that, but it would add a vintage look. Again, that's up to you. And then the top of the pumpkin is yours to decorate. I used my Bow Easy tool to tie the twine bow, so I wanted to share that process with you. It's a great tool, but many people have found it difficult. So I'm working on the largest side, and I'll begin by wrapping the twine around 2 full times. Then I'm going to take the loose end and put it down through the opening above where I wrapped and bring it up again below where I wrapped and pull it tight. Then I'm going to pull both ends tight and tie them together in a knot. Trim the ends, and that's it. The process is the same for making a bow with ribbon. There is another way to tie the back off, but this easier method works just as well, especially with this narrower twine. I like the idea of using the pumpkins as a place card for a holiday dinner, so for mine I used some leftover strips of paper to make a name badge. Just use my scissors to make a simple fishtail cut at the end. And I have some ivy leaves from a decorative vine that was falling apart, so I'm going to use those to decorate the top of my pumpkin. You could use die-cut leaves or even real fall leaves, die-cut flowers or flourishes, or a pretty fall or Thanksgiving tag. Whatever you choose to use that fits your style. And I'll include the twine bow that I made. And here's my finished pumpkin along with the smaller version that I made using 6-inch strips of paper. I think those would be cute in a little basket in a holiday display as well. And these are some samples made by our tutorial author. I hope that you'll try these pumpkins out and share your results in the gallery. Thank you so much for watching.